What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Verse Crypto channel. We got another awesome live stream, and this one I'm very, very excited about today. We're going to bring on a community member within the PDI community. He's also involved with another project. He has awesome alpha on Twitter. He's been one of the main researchers and also a communication guy that has been really pushing out the movement. I think this live stream is going to be a very special treat because we're going to dive into the nuts and the bolt of the PDI pegging theory. We're also going to get a little bit into the Pulse Reflection token. And I'm really excited to pick this dude's name. And the name of this guy is my boy, Zach. What is up, brother? How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing really good. How about yourself?
Hey, doing great, dude. I'm so excited to bring on live stream. I love your Twitter account. I love the stuff that you do. You do a lot of great work for the community. And I feel like there's more stuff that we need to dive into besides the basics. And I think this is going to be beneficial for the community. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's about time.
Absolutely. So cool. All right. Well, let's just kick this off. So I'm just curious, before we get into the PDI pegging theory and then we'll get into Pulse Reflection, your project, I'm curious, what is your background and how did you first get in cryptocurrency?
Oh, Jesus, man. Well, I, first heard about crypto probably in 2010. And I mean, I'll be honest, actually. So I got into crypto for the wrong reasons, right? So I was buying Bitcoin, back when it was so cheap, I was buying thousands of them at a time, right? But I didn't ever hold on to them. They were just gone, and I'd get more, and then they were gone. Yeah, so I mean, I just would never really thought about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency as something to like hold on to. I guess it was just so new that like I couldn't really fathom like where it would be today, I guess. But years go by, Ethereum comes out, I'm telling my friends about Ethereum. I'm like, okay, this seems kind of cool. Like we heard about mining Ethereum. I told a couple friends about it, but I never really like even got into it myself, honestly. Like I had seen it, I heard about it, but I never really got serious about it. I didn't ever really get serious about it until, honestly, my brother found out about Hex, my brother Nathan, and he basically was like showing me Richard Heart, and I was like, well, this is kind of crazy, and I was investing in like just like stupid meme coins, like looking at pump and dumps, just trying to get in and get some money and just trying to do that whole thing, getting wrecked all the time. And so he's like showing me hacks and stuff, and he hadn't invested in Hex yet, but eventually he did. But yeah, we really liked Richard's streams, right? So we would just like be really appreciative of him, like how he's like calling people out and all that stuff. It was like cool. But anyways, so PulseChain was going to get released. My brother sacrificed his Hex for PulseChain. I still hadn't bought any of Hex or anything like that. I was just kind of watching. But yeah, when PulseChain launched, we basically we're scoping out like the DEX tools, right? Like the live new pairs and things like that. And that's how I found Pulse Reflections, because I was just into like whatever new coins were launching. I was just trying to watch that. And I think I caught it within like the first 30 minutes. And I noticed that they had like their logo and their links and all these things already added to DEX tools on the very first day. I was like, well, that never happens, So I was like, their website looks amazing. It's just like, it's already done. It's already put together. And like the fundamentals were like really RH related, it was like, community based, basically. Everybody like puts in their own, do whatever you can, expect nothing from the work of others, basically. So I was like, I'm all for that for sure. So yeah, I jumped into that, and that's kind of how I got into all this.
Wow. Okay. Interesting background. So what's your overall thought about the PulseChain launch? I heard a lot of sour thoughts. Some people are upset that it's down below SAC price. What do you think's going on right now with that?
Yeah. So honestly, just being an observer, right? I could see how people are upset, right? Some people have sacrificed a lot of money, and to have it be down, and somebody like me that can just come in and buy PulseChain at a super low price, it does make you salty a bit. And I can even admit I'd probably be salty too. Like I can't deny that. But if you look at Ethereum and you look at other L1s that were released, you can kind of see a trend, right? So like they launch, they go up, they come right back down, and then there's kind of like this like trail off of nothingness for a while. And which is like what we're in right now. And so, I mean, that's like, if you're somebody that does the research a bit, that's kind of like to be expected. So, I mean, if you're sacrificing money, you don't expect anything, right? It's always been no expectations. So you really, I mean, you shouldn't be mad, but you could be mad because, I mean, I know I would probably be a little salty myself.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about the sacrifices, something like this has never happened before, so we don't know what was gonna happen. We have these greedy VC funded, token pre-sales, and then Richard Hart comes up with this new approach because he's an innovator and he's always doing new things. And so, in my opinion, I mean, I wasn't really too surprised. I had a feeling this was gonna happen and to see the replication of other projects. So, ultimately, I see the end goal behind it. I see the purpose, but it'll be very interesting to see how the projects approach based off of what they saw with the PulseChain launch. So, going off of that, your background, getting cryptocurrency, hexagon to a core, big fan of PulseChain. You're even one of the spokespersons for Pulse Reflections, and it's got Pulse in the name. So it definitely seems like you're a big fan of the PulseChain ecosystem. Now, when you got into this ecosystem, tell me about how you got into the PDI community. What was your first interaction with DAI? Like, let's just dive in and just get your story about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I owe it all to Hodlnomics, right? That is my boy. If it wasn't for him, I would have just overlooked the whole entire thing. It was him and his group of buddies, right? They were all like into the PRC tokens, right? The copies. And I was not focused on that because I was like so heavily invested in PRS. Like once I saw it, the community starting to build, I was like, okay, I'm just dumping money into PRS right now. And then I kind of like ran out of dry powder, right? So I'm like, and Hodl is over here, like he's also admin. And he's basically buying up all these PRC20s and telling me, he's like, oh, dude, buy this one, do this, do that. And I'm like, shit, man, I'm like out of powder. I don't want to sell PRS. Like, it's not what I want to do. But anyways, he's like, okay, man, like, hey, I think we found something. Like, you got to buy some DAI, like even if it's $50, right? And I mean, back then, so $50 I think got me like my first 3 million DAI. And so, yeah, so I mean, I was like, you know what, this like, it sounds so stupid. Like, I couldn't understand, like, why would anybody let somebody make that much money? Like it just didn't make any sense to me at all. But yeah, so I mean, I put my first $50 in, and then it's like after that, like after you put even like $10 in, it's like it gives you a little bit of excitement, right? You want to see it kind of do good. So honestly, I would just recommend, if anybody's never put any money into this, put in $5, right? And it kind of like changes your brain, right? The way that you kind of think about things. And that's what happened to me, right? So I put in that first $50, and then I ended up putting in more because I was like, damn, like this, I see it building a little bit. I see like this research that they're doing actually kind of does make sense a bit. And, when I've been seeing of Richard, watching his videos, even though I'd never invested in Hex, I knew what he stood for, for sure. It was really apparent. And like this whole decentralization aspect, and just the way that the financial world is today, like everything just made complete sense to me at that point. And so I just kind of like, I sold some things that I have in my house. Like I just put extra money in that not that I didn't have, but just things that I could find to sell, like a little bit of extra money for my business to put in, like things like that I try to keep separated usually. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I definitely put a bunch more in, and now I'm safe with my bag, but it was just the craziness of, the whole run up to that, and how I was so against it at first. Really, it was like, I was like, this is just insane. You guys are dumb.
Yeah, I love how you really laid that out, because PRC20 tokens are like the redheaded stepchild of the PulseChain ecosystem. When Richard first said, hey, we're going to do a 1-1 token airdrop, everyone was promoting it, shilling it. Even Hex Maxis were going across and saying all this. And it was clearly evident that he was like, hey, here's a marketing strategy. You get basically free PRC20 token copies of your favorite ERC20s. We get this airdrop, and then right after that, we start getting sentiment against this. And the thing I don't understand is, why do all these maxis promote it to begin with, and then all of a sudden people start diving in, and now they got a freaking problem about this? Like, screw you. Well, not you, but the people against it. But what I like about your story with you and Holonomics is y'all dove in, y'all did research, and in my opinion, you absolutely found a gem in the rut, or you found like basically a pearl out of this whole mess, which is what we're going to really get into today. Your thoughts?
I feel like it was like waiting for us to be found, though. Really, like it's on the blockchain, and you know, it's not hiding from anybody, right? It's only there for people that are going to look for it.
Right, right. And, you know, it's really interesting because the people that were the degens, the outcasts, were the ones who found this. And it's turning out to be one of the best investments in this bear market, which is absolutely asinine and crazy to think about. So, really, really great stuff. So, moving on. So, you got into the PDI movement. You built, you're part of the community. You started getting the communication side, just taking the research and talking to people about this. Based on your first initial impression of the Atropa ecosystem, what were your thoughts when you saw like Atropa and other tokens?
So at first it seemed like a web, and I still had the same kind of feelings that I did from the very beginning, honestly. Just from basically like how they were named, and you know, like they had different, they weren't like kind of similar, right? Every one is kind of like its own unique thing. And that just made me feel like they're going to be their own project, right? I feel like each one is going to be like a certain type of protocol that is going to, you know, assist a stablecoin in some way, you know, whether it be through like a staking platform, or whether it's like a loan collateralization platform, or whether it's you know, whatever, or maybe even a meme coin like Teddy Bear, right? So like it's like a whole full web of things to play with, right? Like, I mean, I'm going to quote RH when he's said on his Twitter, you know, would you rather, you know, play at the casino or own the casino, right? I think this is kind of like the casino within the casino, you know, has like a whole ecosystem of things to play with.
Right. You know, no, that's a great point. And so I've got the chart. This is only probably like 10% of the tokens. We got more coming out. I love this graphic because it's easier for people to visualize. So basically, we got the Atropa, the main token, the one that's mainly responsible for trying to bring PDI to peg, and then we got the outer rim tokens going on. And this is part of the reason why we see this insane price action behind PDI coming up. Now, what I really want to do is get in. Ooh, let's make sure I got the. Where did I put? Oh, did I lose it? Let's see. I got a bunch of these. Hold on, let me get rid of the screen. I think I might have accidentally clicked out of this. Hold on.
Which one were you looking for?
I was looking for that graph and accidentally just clicked out of it, but don't worry about it. So basically, we have tokens like TSFI, we got Atropa, we got Down. What do you think's going on with their pairings between Atropa? Do you think these tokens are trying to, you know, maintain the PDI peg? Do you think they're trying to bring interest into the Atropa ecosystem? I want to know your thoughts of what you think is going on.
So in my mind, there's like, it's either two things, right? So it's like I'm kind of like between a little two different ideas. So one is like, you know, there's this ecosystem for us to use, and maybe they can kind of be related, right? So let's see. There's this ecosystem for us to use, right? Different protocols to be used. And obviously there needs to be backstops of liquidity for PDI, right? So Atropa is like the main one in my mind. And then like all these other protocols, right? They're going to like be building with liquidity as people get more interested in them, right? So they're interested in Atropa, then they become more interested in these other pairs, builds the liquidity up, obviously, but it's all to back the PDI, basically.
Okay. So do you see that so moving on. Now that we got into the Atropa ecosystem, we actually have some really, really big news that I want to jump into because we're basically leading up to it. Zach shared this awesome tweet. Benevolent actor confirmed for Atropa. Contractors renounced. Get out of here, haters. TSFI just shot up 10x, laughing out loud. Go look for yourself at verifypulse.com. Now, this is a very, very important piece of information because originally we thought, okay, so we got Atropa I guess you can say manipulating the market price, but controlling the supply of DAI. The contract wasn't renounced, and there's fear that, you know, even if they're pairing up Atropa with PDI and sending it to a burn wallet, there could be potential behind minting behind the Atropa token and then basically sell it off to cause a crash. Now that we have the contract renounced, it changes the story. What do you think the story is for Atropa now?
So yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a little weird, but I mean, I had that stream with Corey, right, just on Monday. A lot of viewers, right? The next day that this happens, right? And the main point of the whole video basically was, how we were coming to the conclusion, that the minting could be done. That is the biggest red flag among the whole Atropa ecosystem, basically, with this, only the founder can mint more of those tokens and basically slow rug the system. And so, yeah, we see the next day that happening, right? And not with just Atropa, but with TSFI down, other tokens, and even more today. So yeah, I mean, I think that, somebody's watching what's happening here. They see what our concerns are. Obviously, that was one of them. Made sure that everybody felt safe. But yeah, I mean, it just solidifies in my mind that, some benevolent actor here is working in the background, trying to support the PulseChain ecosystem, regardless of what people are saying.
Right. Yeah. No. That's a really great take. And what's interesting about this is when we hear people have takes about these certain tokens. Like for example, a little while ago, I'd put out a tweet. And I said TSFI is the redheaded stepchild of the Tropa ecosystem, the PDI ecosystem. And then 5 days later, this thing shot up 10x and went absolutely crazy. Do you think whoever's behind this and whoever you believe is behind it, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Do you think someone's kind of watching and seeing how we're playing out with this and just adding news events to generate hype?
100%. Yeah. Like I'm honestly, like, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people in our Telegram chat that think that, Richard is watching. There's been, we've like been like, hey, like, why isn't Richard saying anything? And then literally like 10 minutes later, there was a tweet. And this has not just happened just like one time. It's happened like a couple times. So I mean, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not, but I do feel like Richard's the type of person to have an eye all over the place. And I mean, he's obviously got an eye on PDI. His silence basically says the most, because it's like the biggest thing that's happening on his chain. He's talking about scams on other chains. He's talking about shit that's going wrong with his that they fixed. Like, I mean, the only thing he's not saying is PDI. And I mean, I know that there's a great reason for that.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about Richard Hart's response. And I get arguments with like I got friends in the community and I give them my personal cell phone number and they're always calling me if something happens. And it's really cool because it keeps you in the loop, but also really annoys you because you're just like, man, you get into an hour conversation, you start debating, and it 5 minutes turns into an hour. Now, the interesting thing about this is the argument saying that Richard Hart isn't saying anything because he's under a lawsuit. In his past, he said stuff about centralized exchanges. He's said stuff about benevolent actors like Terra Luna, Solana. He talks about, sending crypto to wallet addresses that you own the keys to. And he's also mentioned stuff on Hex, PulseX, and PulseChain since the SEC lawsuit on his Twitter. Why do you think he hasn't responded to the PDI stuff right now?
I think personally it's because he doesn't want to give people that advantage, right? Because Richard has been saying this over and over again, right? He wants to make the people who believe the most wealthy, right? In so many words, right? So in my mind, if he were to say, yeah, like this PDI thing looks pretty cool or something, like I think all the wrong type of people who don't really truly believe in him would be jumping in, becoming millionaires, within whatever amount of time, and later on dumping on the ecosystem, trading out to other blockchains or taking out cash or whatever, not supporting his vision, right? So I think by him staying silent, it leaves a bit of like obfuscation and a bit of like mystery, basically, and it keeps the people that really don't believe in his true vision that he's been speaking on for years. It keeps those people kind of away and like too scared to jump in and things like that. But like the true believers, the ones who've seen what he's been talking about for years, those people are the ones that are like, this is just a no-brainer,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the interesting thing is a lot of my friends that when they talk, like a lot of my friends that are girls, and when they get into dating and stuff, the one thing they always told me is like, I always like dudes that sell mystery. The mystery thing really attracts me, and doing a correlation to what's going on in cryptocurrency, I think you can use that to extrapolate on anything in life. You're more interested in something when you have to really dive in and look into something rather than someone sit there, hand it out to you on a silver plate and just be like, hey, here's what's going on, yada, yada, right over your head. So I think this mystery element is part of the reason why we're getting adoption, because this started off as like we had the zombie FUD, we had the dip catcher FUD, and then now I'm seeing maxis, I'm seeing people that went against PDI absolutely turning, coming around and saying, hey, something's going on here. It's great to see Atropa announce a contract. Maybe there's potentiality behind this. What do you think about the community's response to PDI, specifically within Hex and PulseChain community?
Yeah, no, it's really great to see people kind of like turning around, even if it's just a little bit, you know, that like that little turn is a step in the right direction for sure. Because I mean, like this can only be beneficial now for the people that are in it, right? There's no chance of like the liquidity rugging or anything like that. It is as it is. There's no more minting. So honestly, like as we just pay attention to this, hopefully a white paper comes out, things like that. But honestly, it's really funny to see people like Identity Block who were like kind of all for this idea just when PulseChain launched, right? He was making videos even before the launch of PulseChain. He was saying like, I think the DAI copy on PulseChain is going to be a thing, right? We found his videos and we basically brought him back to the surface, right? Because he was kind of not doing anything before that, right? Now he kind of is talking a lot. But yeah, now it just is funny because he's like against it, right? Or is kind of like pointing out things that he thinks he's finding that are not necessarily even connected to the 414.
Absolutely. And you know, that's interesting because I did see his videos and stuff. I'm still researching some of the stuff he's saying, and we don't have to get too far into it. But as to bringing a stable coin to the Pulse chain, Richard talked about adding new products that will be beneficial to the ecosystem. Stable coins are the backbone of cryptocurrency. That is the lifeline. We need stable coins to bring in adoption, regardless of how you feel towards the dollar and inflation, all that, yada, yada, yada. Now, in your opinion, in order to launch a stablecoin on Pulse Chain, do you think the PRC20 token route was the best route for community adoption and legal reasons, or does it make more sense for Richard just to flat out launch the stablecoin straight onto the Pulse Chain? What are your thoughts?
So, I mean, I just think it was a brilliant idea, right? So having something that he didn't create, right? Something that was just forked over, right? That becomes the natural stable coin. He doesn't have to put his face to it. Look at all the stuff he's going through. If he were to have launched Pulse Chain and was like, hey, you know, I just launched Pulse Chain. Now we're launching Pulse Stable, the new stable coin for Pulse Chain. You know, like what the fuck? Like that makes the SEC like even more upset, you know, like all these things. Like I'm sure he knew the SEC was looking at him way before he got sued. I mean, there was Hex people that were getting looked at by the SEC like a year before Pulse Chain launch. You know, that this has been a thing, right? So I mean, the only way to keep, you know, him separated was to basically like have something created from the ground floor, something that started with a zero value and nobody had any expectations of profit from, right?
Right. Absolutely. No, great take. So awesome. Now let's switch back over to this diagram. I pulled it back up and sorry I accidentally hit the X on it, but I really want to get into this with you know, Zach, because you know he's a really smart dude. He can really help me explain this ecosystem so that everyone else can understand. Now, basically, what we were talking about earlier is we got a bunch of contract a lot of the contracts on these tokens were announced, excuse me, which means that you can't mint and you basically can't mint tokens, and the contract code cannot be changed. And so it started off with Atropa, then we got down, and then I believe TSFI was one of them, and then I believe legal was also another one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, one thing interesting that popped off when all these were announced is we saw this massive spike, and then let me see if I can bring it up right now, in TSFI that absolutely went to the moon. In your opinion, do you think there's a correlation between TSFI and these contracts being announced? And if so, what do you think TSFI will play in this ecosystem? Just your opinion.
Yeah, so I don't have one right now, right? So,
Okay.
you know, we did see the big spike, right? So basically, the whatever wallet did that, right? It was holding PDI. It sold its PDI for Atropa. I think it was like $60,000 or some amount like that, right? So it bought Atropa and then it went and bought the TSFI. And I mean, the reason why I did that, like, who knows? But like, we're all paying attention to the blockchain. We're all whoever's doing this knows we're all looking, right? We keep aping into all their coins that they keep producing like every day, right? So they know that we're watching. I think maybe it could be like, okay, hey, like wake up, like we're doing something with this. Check it out. Maybe just pay attention. It could be just like a wake up call. Who knows? Really, but that's just kind of the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's an awesome take. And the one thing that I really noticed was I was messing with chatbots. I understand chatbots aren't exactly the best, and I do a little work with AI at my actual job,
Yeah.
and so when I typed this into the Beetroot chatbot, it said something about TSFI being a bridge token. As to whether or not that's true, we'll have to see down the road. But one thing that really clicked in my mind is that the PulseChain bridge is like a traditional bridge. These traditional bridges have hacks left and right. And then VNPX over at the Zen ecosystem is creating like a bridge token where you have two variations of tokens on two different blockchains. You put into the bridge, and the swap of the value goes through that bridge. To me, in my opinion, I think TSFI might have something to do with this, or maybe one of these tokens might have some utility outside of the PDI pegging. It's just being brought together into an ecosystem for price stability. In your opinion, with this chart popping up, and let me just bring this back, do you think some of these tokens might have some outside utility? And keep in mind, this is like speculation
Yeah.
besides interacting with PDI.
My own personal feeling is that they definitely will 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
but that's just how I feel. I mean, there's people in the Telegram community that I really, really respect. Jimmy Rins is one of them, and I'm going to give his opinion honestly because like we should share both. So it's his opinion that these are tokens that are for testing. That they could be just like testing out different liquidity amounts, different token amounts, playing with the system and adding a little bit of liquidity here and there. That's one point of view. My point of view is just a little bit different, just because I see some of these, having liquidity being added and other like bots messing around with some of them, bots not messing around with some of them. Yeah, I think there's just a little bit more at play here than just some testing. That's all.
Yeah, gotcha. No, that's really interesting, and no, definitely a great approach. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you see something like down being, or TSFI being a bridge token. I'm not saying it is. I'm just throwing out speculation, and then maybe legal has something to do with supply. But I think in the end, this will all come out when we get towards that final stage of the PDI pegging theory. Now, one thing I want to get your take on. So we have these liquidity pools between Atropa and Doge, PW wrapped ETH, wrapped Pulse, and Zen Crypto. The Doge, the wrapped ETH, the wrapped Pulse, kind of understandable. But the one thing I want to point out is the Atropa and the Zen Classic Crypto. What do you think is going on in this liquidity pool right here? Do you think it's because there's a big Zen community? Do you think we have what's it called? I forgot the word, but basically you buy and trade, you buy and sell tokens through arbitrage between each pools. What do you think is going on with this Zen crypto correlation to Atropa?
So first thing I'll say is I have no idea. Second of all, I don't even know what Zen is, honestly. But third of all, if there is some type of like large community around Zen, my first thought is, okay, well, what is one thing that adding liquidity to different pairs does, right? It makes other communities aware and possibly, becoming a bridge from one coin to another, right? So those are the kind of things that I think about. And although I'm not really sure how Zen works at all or anything like that, I do feel like it could potentially just be some type of bridge from one community to another if it is a large community like that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is it just a little background? Zen Crypto, it's basically a token developed by Jack Levin, and you approve a smart contract, and it's like a hex stake. And the longer you stake out, you get free tokens. And this token has made some waves in the bear market, but also there's this weird clash between two communities like Zen and PulseChain. And so it's interesting to see it pop up. Maybe there's some game theory through the onboarding process behind this by having that liquidity pool, or maybe there might be popularity behind it. But it was one of these interesting things that I hear a lot about. And I'm really, thank you so much for your perspective, because I also think that we'll probably see more of these pairs pop up. Like, for example, Sushi Swap is talking about launching on PulseChain. That's the rumor. We're not really sure. I would not be surprised. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, that'll be like really breaking open the gate for PulseChain. So I would not be surprised, and keep in mind, not financial advice. I don't have any insider information, speculation. If we see a Atropa and a Sushi Swap token pair. So maybe this is a targeting mechanism, and that's the biggest thing I want to get out there. Same thing with Doge, Elon Musk. People like this coin. There's a meme coin community. This could be something that the Atropa ecosystem is utilizing to onboard people. That is the power behind the PRC20 token airdrop, which is really, really cool. So awesome, man. Now, next thing I want to get your opinion on, and this is a very interesting new token that absolutely blew my mind, and also blew your mind on Twitter.
Yeah, man.
First Pulse Mutual Bond. You know, the first thing, yeah, I know, exactly. The first thing I thought was, yo, is this like a decentralized bank? I want to know your first initial reaction to that.
I'm like, I'm rich. That's what I thought. I was like, oh shit. No, but honestly, like, okay, so all these other tokens, they got some fucking weird ass names. I'm sorry for swearing.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
I am drinking a margarita. They got some weird ass names, bro.
Yeah, bro.
It's like Down, TSFI, Teddy Bear, right? All these not Japanese, I'm sorry, but Asian symbols, right? All types, even coding symbols. Weird, not even a language, right? And then we see First Pulse Mutual Bond, right? And how fucking more obvious could that be? Right? Like, oh my God. And this is not just created by some random person. This is still created by the same person who made Atropa. And that was on testnet in September of 2021. Okay, so let's just remember that, first of all. And second of all, let's think about the whole idea behind Hex, right? So Hex, what does it do, right? It does the same shit that banks do, right? Mm-hmm. That was Richard's whole idea behind creating Hex, how it'll have all this adoption because it does the same thing that these banks do, right? Right. I mean, I'm not like an expert on Hex. That's what I got from seeing the documentary 2 times. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, when I saw this, I'm like, this is another genius idea. This is another thing that is used in the real world. Mutual bonds, right? You get a bunch of different assets, you lump them all together, boom. You have people buy into it. I mean, I bought some already for sure. I bought some at the top, bought some at the dip, I did it all. So you can't buy a whole lot, but it's cool. It's like, I mean, like it just solidified my whole belief in this whole system. It's just like, Jesus Christ, like, how can I deny this?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it is so crazy because when I first saw this, well, I got it off your tweet. So you're the first person to bring it to me via Twitter. And then when I saw this and I looked at this, I had to read it a couple times because I was just like, what? I felt like this was like a First Mutual bank you see right down the road.
Yeah, it sounded like it, right?
Yeah. You're driving some town in some Farmville town with 1,000 less people. Anything with Mutual is probably a bank, in my opinion. So, right. So I dive into this and I saw what you're putting out. And then this is the other thing. You go over to Pulse Scan and you look at, all right, what's in this contract address? And what's in the contract address is Treasury bill, Atropa. I'm not going to even try to pronounce these things. I'll probably butcher it. Legal. Tokens that were created by, we'll call it the 414 address. In your opinion, well, actually, I'll give you my opinion first, and I want to hear your opinion. In my opinion, what I'm seeing right now is kind of like a decentralized bank that's going to be used to control the token supply of all these tokens coming in. And in my opinion, I think what First Pulse Mutual is trying to do is to set up an infrastructure to make sure that these tokens across the board don't have some outrageous token inflation, because each of these tokens serve a case, whether it's for testing or doing something to keep PDI on peg. What are your thoughts about all these tokens being in the First Pulse Mutual contract? Did I say that right? Yeah, First Mutual bond contract. Pulse Mutual. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm gonna just be honest and say I don't know. Like,
Okay.
I'm not that super technical, right? So I'm just gonna be super honest, right? Like, I'm not the one that's doing the research on PDI, right? I'm not that technical into like researching the blockchain and doing all this analysis. Like, I have my opinions, sure, I have my opinions, but that just comes from my experiences, I guess. But I just am not that technical minded, I guess, to be, doing all that type of work. I'm more of like so in my personal job, like I own a digital marketing agency, right? So I do marketing. I'm a sales guy. That's what I do. That's why I, can come on these streams and talk to you. But yeah, so I really just, it looks like a basket of assets. It looks like something that like you invest into, and these other things go up in value so that your asset goes up in value. That's just what I'm seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, and hey, look, honesty is the best policy, so you can't go wrong if you're honest. But yeah, man, I mean, it is just so wild that we keep getting these new tokens popping up, and it's just not these like random tokens with all these names, which we'll get into the naming stuff in a mix. I know a lot of people have questions about that, but what's really surprising me is so we got this token supply with these tokens in here. And then another thing I notice is, the TSF, oh, not TSFI, excuse me, the down token. And this is speculation. This is just from my observation. When we had a massive sell pressure on the DAI token, the one thing I noticed was this down token was absorbing that sell pressure like crazy.
Yeah.
And so we talked a little bit about this in the beginning. Do we think these tokens will have utility down the road? And based off of this, we're starting to see this start to build out, especially with, Atropa is the obvious one, but down kind of an idea. And then we got the first Pulse mutual bond. So it's really interesting to see how this plays out. And there's a good chance we might see other new ones. And we even have Bear, which might be a meme coin.
Yeah, I think like the main thing is like, so especially with the down, right? So the down was doing a lot of the absorbing. The bots, right? When there's a big buy on PDI, right? The bots immediately sell, 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 sell. There's going to be a huge sell wall, and you'll see it every single time. And basically, there's going to be buys on other things, right? So there's like it works all together, and that's what makes me believe that this is all kind of like backstopping just one main thing, right? Which is the PDI, because there's only one way in and out of Atropa, right? And that's through PDI to PLS. So I just think that everything is kind of this whole bot network is like using the liquidity when somebody buys to spread out through everything else, which is basically later on going to be used to basically come the other way to support the price of PDI.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I like your take on that because I'll give you guys an example so everyone understands what Zach's talking about. So you see this little red candle on the 1 hour hourly. So we saw a massive buy here, a little bit of a sell, a couple little small buys, and then a price correction come back down, which is very close to the original level, but it's also in an uptrend. So it's basically this bot system that Zach is talking about. The bot system behind this PDI token, which absolutely interesting, is so advanced. And when I did my research, I saw a possible correlation behind the wrapped XRP technology. I'm not saying it is; it's just me speculating. And we're degens at heart, so let's be
So
honest.
another speculation, honestly, was somebody was saying there's a bot that's on BSC that is very similar to this, but it's a bot that uses the money for profit, right? That they don't add it back to the system, right? But somebody was saying like, hey, this seems like the bot that's on BSC, but it looks like it's like adding the profits back into the liquidity pools. So that could be an idea as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, no, great points. Now let's get into a big question that I get all the time, and we need to pick your brain about this. So I come over here. We got these outside tokens. I love this one. I'm fat. I always laugh when I see that. But so we got Treasury Bill, we got Teddy Bear, which is I think B Root's favorite one, to be honest with you. I think it's awesome. We got first workbook, and then we've got new tokens launching left and right where we have different languages. We have the 5, the 8, and the 9, and I can't remember what the numbers mean, but I know you probably know. So why is there such a weird naming going on? Like, what's your thoughts? What's your theory about this?
Yeah, so I do definitely have a theory on that. So yeah, we're seeing a bunch of different foreign languages, right? And a lot of them are Asian, There's Thai languages, Korean, Maldivian, and also Japanese, and maybe some others even. And also like coding languages, right? So there's like not even like actual, written languages, but for code. Okay, so basically this whole idea, right, about how PulseChain is, the thing that's going against the mainstream financial markets, right? We see all across the world like a bit of centralization, and the government's trying to control what people do and what people say and what people spend money on and things like that, right? So we see that across the whole world. We already know that the Asian market is really pretty large cryptocurrency market, and I think that having these different language tokens, right, is going to bring adoption from different parts of the world, right? And it's going to bring a lot of like mystery to that as well, right? There's going to be a lot of mystery to that. And speaking on Teddy Bear, right? Teddy Bear being a meme, it's a great name for a meme coin, that's for sure. But also just the other day, a new coin was released by 414 that was in Japanese, right? It says Teddy Bear. Okay. So like, I just feel like this is all kind of something that's going to connect the world for decentralized finance in the future.
Right. Yeah. That's actually that's very interesting. I like that approach because I think out of all the theories, that one definitely sticks. And the interesting thing that I'm seeing is, a lot of these tokens launch and then we're seeing the contract renounce, and then it seems like that locks it up and keeps the liquidity and the value in that pairing and just keeps going out and out and out. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out in the final ecosystem. Now we got a question from our boy Tank Will K Dub. Really would like to know what your thoughts on the wrapped ETH Atropa. P-Dye getting closer to peg will be nuts. So we'll start off with you, Zach. What do you think about the wrapped ETH and Atropa? How do you think this plays into everything?
Is that a pair with the Atropa?
Yes, wrapped Ethereum. So it's the copy PRC20 token.
Yeah, so my first thought is just because this happens all the time, I don't know who created that pair, right? So I personally have no idea who started that pair. I know that we know that certain pairs were started by the 414 wallet, and those are ones that are really interesting to me. But I know that so even us, right, at Pulse Reflections, we started pairs with P-Dye and Atropa to gain more interest in our token, right? People would see it, maybe take a look at it, right? So that's what we did. But so I think that there's probably a lot of other projects that are doing similar things.
Yeah, absolutely. My take, and this is gonna be like the more nerdy take. You're better at talking. I get into all these word spouts, but I think what's going on is with that wrapped Ethereum, that's going to play a part in two things. Maybe adding collateral to P-Dye if you look at the Lido DAO contract, because we have the staked ETH, and then wrapped ETH might play a part in this. But also it gets back to what we first talked about with PRC20 tokens. You got really big in the PulseChain ecosystem because you saw value behind these PRC20 token copies when the maxis were looking at it saying like, hey, these are just shit coins. Screw this. Don't pump this. If you promote this, you're out of the community. And so how I see wrapped Ethereum playing is there's a good chance, in my opinion, that don't be surprised to see wrapped Ethereum maybe get up to peg with Ethereum. The wrapped Ethereum token supply is about right around 10% of the entire Ethereum supply. So it might not, it might be realistic. And what I think the best way to onboard new people in the PulseChain ecosystem is to have PRC20 tokens pegged to the same price to their ERC20 token counterparts on Ethereum. And at that point, if P-Dye hits peg and you have a few of the main tokens like that, I mean, we win, dude. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that definitely does make sense. So yeah, like when you mentioned wrapped ETH, I wasn't sure if you meant like the Pulse version of wrapped ETH, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
That totally does make sense for sure. I mean, getting pairs with other tokens that could potentially reach parity with their Ethereum counterparts is a very smart move.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna see if we got any more questions because we definitely need to get over to Pulse Reflection really quickly. So let's do a couple of shout outs. So less banking. Zach is a legend. I couldn't agree with you more, man. Cool. Danny, talk about Atropa. Good stuff. Shout out to Stub. I appreciate the support. Interesting. SC Richard Heart said before to look for Easter eggs. Yeah, well, if there's one Easter egg to look for, I think the stablecoin might be it. So definitely really good stuff. Oh, shout out to House, man. House is a phenomenal researcher. Awesome Twitter. Check him out. I don't have his Twitter handle, but if you type in House, it's going to pop up, or just going on to our follows.
Give him a follow. Yeah, he was saying like he's got like no followers. He needs help, and he's one doing like a lot of digging.
Yeah. No, I always pull off of his Twitter. So shout out to House, man. Awesome dude. Cool. And then coming down here, I love this one. Blockchain equals code equals free speech. RH has literally been screaming it, laugh out loud. Yeah, the thing about blockchain technology is it's a way to get around government censorship, and PDI, PRC20 tokens, PulseChain, regardless, this is our way of, having freedom from the current financial system. Speaking of freedom from the current financial system, Zach, what do you think DeFi is going to play when it comes to our current financial system? Do you see a transition next bull market? Do you see DeFi being dominant? Do you see DeFi dying? What do you think is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole next bull run is going to be like DeFi central, right? I think that people are getting fed up more and more every day with the current way that the financial system is ran by the governments. The Fed, just like all the taxes we have to pay and things like that. Like people are just getting really fed up. They're spending our money that we do pay in taxes, in my mind, the wrong ways. I don't think that I'm the only one that thinks that way. But yeah, so I mean, I do feel like people want their privacy, and I think that they're trying to take that away from us. So that's like one of the main things that us as a community really needs to be focused on is not letting anybody take our privacy away from us, because if we don't have that, then we really don't have anything.
Absolutely. No, that's a phenomenal take. And I'm definitely going to clip that. That's cool with you, because I think that'll be a perfect YouTube short. So you absolutely nailed that, dude. So I love that. Last thing, last one, Damien, big support of the channel, showing to support a homie. By the way, if you're in the New York City area for Zen birthday, come through. Got Bitcoin, Benito, Taco Bro, and a few others that is known in the Hex and Zen community. Yeah, shout out to you, Damien. It's always great to have you on stream, man. Really great dude. So cool. All right. So before we get into Pulse Reflection, we got two more big questions I gotta ask you.
Yeah.
With the PDI pegging right around the corner, I'm curious about how you see the future coming to fruition. How do you what's the timeline do you think this pegging is gonna lay out, and what events do you think we should expect down the road? And I know this is extreme speculation, but I really want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, so I saw a post on Twitter today that actually caught my attention. And I forget who posted it, honestly. I wish I could shout them out. Yeah, but they posted that, with the trend that we're on now for PDI, that the pegging would happen by December 2nd if we continue at the same rate that we're on now. My hopes is that we peg by Thanksgiving, because that's right around my birthday. So that's what I'm going to go for. That's my prediction, is that we're pegged by Thanksgiving. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I definitely hope it's definitely a Thanksgiving, because that'll be the greatest Thanksgiving present, and we can buy a bunch of stuff for Christmas for all of our family members. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think the funny part about this, speaking of the pegging, I put out a tweet that says PDI hits a penny, I'm gonna buy a tiger. And I was completely joking, but that tweet got like 50 likes and 10 retweets. So now I feel like I had to buy a tiger. Yeah. So I haven't gotten into research about this, but I might need to ask Mike Tyson for some advice here. So,
right. No, I told everybody that I'd get a PDI tattoo on my butt if we ever hit $1. So keep watch for that.
Dude, at that point, you got to put it on Twitter as proof somehow.
Oh, for sure. You'll see it for sure. I'll make a video or something.
Yeah. So awesome. That was a great take. Now, the next thing I want to put out there, and I get this question a lot, events to expect coming down the road, and some big events I would say with the PDI pegging is, more tokens launches, seeing the introduction of collateral, and then also the build out of the Lido DAO, because the Lido DAO is going to be probably the main governance token behind PDAI. Because keep in mind, if we achieve our goal, Lido DAO is going to be the governance forum to maintain the PDAI peg. Now, based off of what I was just talking about, real question: PDAI pegging to $1. It's actually controversy. Some people think it's going to be 50 cents. Some people say a penny. Some people say $1. I think it's going to peg to $420.69. Zach, what do you think we're going to peg to?
It's PDAI to $1 for me. I do think that it'll probably go above $1. I don't think there's anything that's going to like immediately halt it at 1.00 and forever it stays there. That would be kind of nonsense to think that. But yeah, so in terms of the Lido DAO, I don't necessarily know for sure that they're going to have the governance control. Just because we don't know for sure, right? We don't know. But we do know that the money from the vaults that were in Maker, were transferred over to Lido. So that did happen for sure. And that money from those vaults is being used to fund the bot network that adds liquidity, that buys and sells, and all these different things that happen within the Atropa ecosystem. So that's super, super interesting, right? But Lido has not come out and said, like, we're going to be launching on PulseChain. They are a multi-chain DAO. That's cool. They do offer some type of liquid staking protocol, which I'm not even aware of at all, I'll be honest.
Okay.
And yeah, so I mean, that definitely could happen. I know that there's a lot so when I saw Lido DAO at first, I looked into it and I did buy some actually. It went up and then I sold some, and then I looked into the token holders even, before or after I bought it, honestly. And I was like, holy shit, there's a ton of Ethereum token holders that have millions and hundreds of millions of LDO tokens. And me, like, thinking I'm doing big stuff over here, I'm like, I'm buying 500 and I think I got like a lot, but I only had like 70,000 tokens or something. And I was like, oh my God, like, potentially people from Lido on Ethereum side could dump a ton of tokens on PulseChain side. So that it did scare me a little bit, and it made me kind of curious as to how the whole DAO system would work if there's a voting functionality with the LDO token. So it just threw up a bunch of questions in my mind. And I did see that, one of the Richard videos was saying how there's somebody that's making a new DAO for PulseChain, basically. So I was kind of under not the assumption, but just like a feeling, I guess, that there'd be something new.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we don't know for sure, but there's indicators, and this might be a good place to look. But don't be surprised if we see a DAO token pop up, or maybe it's one of these new ones that's coming across. Because
exactly, yeah.
And it's extremely evident that some of these tokens have utility if you really just dive into to see what they're doing. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. So next thing we got to do, Pulse Reflections. We got to talk about this, because this is a project I didn't know about until we started interacting in the PDAI community. So just coming up here, for anyone who wants to check it out, you come over to pulsereflections.com. I also left a link down below in the description if you want to see it for yourself. Now, based off of Pulse Reflections, my first look is, okay, this is a reflection token. There's some really cool utility behind it. Zach, curious, what is a brief summary of what Pulse Reflection is, and what's the main purpose it's trying to serve?
So yeah, I'll just start with the main purpose, right? So first of all, the main purpose is basically just to give you more Pulse chain, right? So more PLS, right? That's the end goal. Basically, it's just a token that rewards you for holding, right? So you buy into PRS, there's a small tax, right? There's a 3% tax on each buy and sell, and 2% of that tax is used to go for to buy PLS, right? It'll sell a little bit of PRS, very small amount, and then it buys PLS on the market, and then it uses that to distribute to all the holders, right? So with volume basically is where we get into like big rewards. So as it stands currently, I think in the last 3 months, I think my personal, even just one of my regular wallets has earned about 2 million PLS for free, which is nice, but with volume, like in the future in the bull run, we could be seeing a ton of volume in the PLS rewards. so the extra 1% of the PRS tax is going to be used to actually burn PRS. So far we've burned a little bit over 6% of the entire supply, I believe. We do give on the website, you'll see there the metrics for how much has been burned and how much has been reflected.
Okay. No, that was a phenomenal take. And you know what's interesting about reflect this type of reflection token is we're in a very initial period, but before what I call the PRC20 token boom. We had a few little run-ups, and with the PDI narrative and all these PRC20 tokens moving around, I predict that based on the news that we get out of all these PRC20 tokens, we'll see a massive amount of volume coming to the Pulse chain. And what I like about Pulse Reflections is it basically performs based off of volume coming in and out of this token. And so, you hold a token, you earn Pulse, and also it's deflationary. Now, there's some stigma against, burn tokens and deflationary mechanics because typically it doesn't impact price. But the one thing that you said that was extremely interesting is you guys already burned 6% of this token. That's pretty impressive from outside looking in. We haven't seen that type of burn percentage on PulseChain, PulseX, and the whole 9 yards. So, Zach, in your opinion, with Pulse Reflection, do you think this is going to be a phenomenal passive income source going into the next bull market if you're on the Pulse chain?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when the token was first launched, we saw like crazy rewards. Like it was insane. The first 2 days was nuts. I mean, I think we did like a 500x in the first 3 days, right? There was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in every day. And then it kind of tapered off, right? But that's just because everything was kind of tapering off with PLS in general in my mind. But if you actually look at the chart and you look at the difference between like the PLS price and the PRS price, even in just like the last 30 days, our PRS price has 4x against the PLS price, right? So if you invest in PRS, you would have 4x more PLS if you were to sell it than you did, 30 days ago. So that's pretty incredible in my mind. It's really performing really well against Pulse chain right now. And I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with Pulse chain that's going to bring it a bit down with the SEC and all that stuff. But it's just a super cool narrative, like just imagine if you were earning Ethereum, right, via reward in just like the first few months of Ethereum, look what it's worth today, right? So this is kind of just like a thing where it's like you buy into it, you hold it for the long term, right? Because us people in Pulse Reflections community, like we're super bullish on the Pulse chain, right? That's why we want more PLS, right? So, and if we're going to be able to earn this for free over time, right, that's just it's immensely beneficial to us in our mind for sure.
Absolutely. And, just taking a look at this price chart initially, definitely a really healthy price chart. And you can definitely tell there's going to be a little bit of a breakout coming right here. You can definitely tell the volume's upticking and it's about to go up. But that's also some very interesting points when you compare to the wrapped Pulse price, because it seems like there's like a little bit of a hedge against the wrapped Pulse token going down, and there's value coming into this token. Now, the one thing I really like about it is like this liquidity pool is at 19K, and then the market cap, which isn't the best indicator, it's at $258,000. So this token has some room to grow going on to the future. And the tokens under $1 million market cap, those are typically the ones that where you can make absolute gains off of it. Not financial advice, just putting that out there. Now, getting into some of the utility, the mechanics behind the project, is this token immutable? Have the admin keys been burned? Basically, does this token follow the Richard Heart principles? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. So we'll just go through those real quickly. So first and foremost, the contract is renounced. It was renounced after I think 3 days of the launch. The liquidity has been locked for 1 year, and once it is unlocked, it'll be could be used for like seeding future pools and things like that. It'll be a community decision. So basically, in RH's philosophy, this is a community-driven token with a completely anonymous dev. There's no team tokens that were given away. The dev does have 5% of the supply. That's like a very modest 5% in my opinion. And then everybody else had to buy their tokens on the open market, right? So even me and all the other team members, we all had to buy our tokens upon the launch. But yeah, I mean, the dev owns only 5% of the tokens. He uses his reflections just for himself. That's just basically his reward for just creating this token for us. And another thing about our dev, honestly, and we should probably talk about this just quickly, verifypls.com, right? So this is a website that our dev created, right? He had actually been working on it for the past 2 months. Hodlnomics from our Telegram community, he actually recommended that we create something like this for PulseChain. So it was his idea. And our dev took it seriously, saw that there would be a benefit for PulseChain for something like this so people could stay safe. You can basically analyze any contract that gets launched on PulseChain, even if it gets launched right now. Okay, so that basically it works like there's a smart contract that our dev made that basically scans the entire blockchain all the time. So when all these new coins get their contracts renounced, like Teddy today and all these other ones, we can scan it and see right away that it's been changed.
Awesome. No, this is awesome because typically you got to be really advanced in cryptocurrency, and this actually makes it easier for anyone to just jump in and just check out what's going on in this contract. So let's do an experiment. So let's take a look at Atropa, because I know all you guys like Atropa. So let's take a look at that. So we just did Pulse Reflection. Now let's take a look at Atropa and see what pops up. Try one more time.
Yeah, it takes a second.
Yeah. But I mean, we saw the there it is. So yeah, so you can come down here, ownership renounced. Our code does not contain a owner, verified contract.
So that I'm just going to point out. So when it says verified contract there, and then it has a red flag, that means the contract is not verified. You can't read what it does, but it is renounced still.
Gotcha. And then I like this one because a lot of people always tell me Atropa and DAI isn't being burned, and it says right here at least 95% of the liquidity burn or locked for at least 30
I also want to point that out. So that's another thing. So now, the way that the verified PLS is set up, so right now that shows that there's a caution right there. You see the caution symbol?
Yeah.
So if more than 95 was burned, it would give a thumbs up. So what it's showing, it can actually only read the liquidity that's locked with PLS right now. It's going to be right now our dev is working to improve that, but right now it cannot read what's locked with DAI. Right. So the liquidity is locked with DAI, but this website, it's just not showing it currently.
Okay. I got you. Okay. But regardless, this is a really great product. I love how it's tied into what you guys are doing over here at PulseChain Reflections .com. Awesome stuff. Now, one thing I want to ask you about Pulse Reflection, excuse me, I can't talk. What should we expect down the road? Are you guys going to add some new utility? Do you have a marketing plan? What do you think about what do you guys have in store for the community to get this token out there?
Yeah, so honestly, it is a 100% community-driven token, right? So we are just like anybody in the community that can do anything. That's what we do. So me, I'm a big voice. Obviously, I get the word out there. We have verifiedpls.com. So we're gonna have like an advertising section. Pulse Reflections is gonna have an ad there. A lot of other tokens will, sign up to have their own ads there as well. So that'll be a form of our marketing. Also, getting the word out there through different communities, right? So me and Hodlnomics, also Zuka, all three of us are admins in the PRS community. We're also admins in the PDAI community, right? So we're going to be able to bridge those communities later on, hopefully. PRS is a great project. The contract's renounced. I mean, there's really nobody that can mess with it. And it has great game theory to it, right? So we're earning PLS right when PulseChain's launching, right? We're gonna basically multiple bags, holding one token. So it's really a great thing. And I think the whole PulseChain community should understand it and should rally around it if you want to earn more PLS, right?
Absolutely. No, I love the idea. I love how the contract's renounced. I love how it's being run and driven by the community. So that's really cool. And it's going to be really exciting to see how this plays out. And I guarantee you might see some DGens create LP pairs between maybe Teddy and PRS or Atropa. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and I already did with Atropa and PDAI.
Yeah, so you attach some value to that. But yeah, awesome, man. Really, really great take on Pulse Reflections, and I'm definitely want to cover this project in the future and get into some more price analysis. So thank you so much for coming on and talking about that. Is there anything else you want to say about Pulse Reflections on top of that?
No, I think it's super simple. I mean, it's just like literally you buy it, you hold it, you get PLS sent to your wallet automatically. It's like a beautiful stream of passive income. I mean, even at this low volume, you're earning free gas, right? You're just gas that you can spend on whatever the heck you want. Every day you're getting more. It's really simple, honestly. I mean, and the price is super low right now compared to, I mean, at launch we were 2x this price. So I mean, you're still getting it at a dip.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I do like the gas approach, because you never know. Sometimes you spend a little too much money, don't have enough pulse, gotta ask your buddy, send something over to you, and maybe you can buy them a coffee or a beer at the bar or margarita. So
Right.
it is what it is. But yeah, good stuff, man. Well, I just want to say, I think we're gonna wrap up this live stream. I got no more questions. I think this live stream was really, really great, especially for the outside Atropa ecosystem, how to navigate. And I think this is going to be a phenomenal tool for the community to really dive in and take what we talked about and apply it to research. Because what I like about the PDI community is there's no centralized authority behind this. It's a group of people trying to understand what's going on. And there's so much research, a lot of smart people, and I'm really excited to see what's going down the road. Zach, do you have any final thoughts? Anything else you want to say?
No, man, we killed it tonight. I think we went over a lot of different stuff, and I hope really people got a better understanding for what's going on here. And if not, you know, you can always hit up me on Twitter. I respond to all my DMs. New to follow Jimmy Rince, follow 9 Iron Capital, follow Snowflake Society. You know, there's probably a bunch more, but you know, just take a look on Twitter. You know, follow the PDI hashtags. You know, see who's sharing their posts. You follow all those people. We need to support each other in the Twitter community. You know, if we can all follow each other, we all support each other. You know, there's going to be new whales, new influencers, new people that are going to be having a voice on PulseChain once people realize who's been, you know, not giving them the best advice in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like that take. And so if you guys want to check out all Zach's socials down below, also in the title, you can click on that little hyperlink. It'll take them to his YouTube channel. Guys, go over there, subscribe to him. Let's get him to 1,000 subs so that the algorithm will start picking you up. Because believe it or not, YouTube kind of puts you in the back end until you get 1,000 subs, and not a lot of people know that. So I think Zach's voice needs to get out there. He's got a story to tell, and I think more and more people need to hear his voice.
Thank you.
Now, a couple things before we get out of here. Got some love from Zach, Torin. Shout out to Torin, Sean. And then more touring. Cool. So good stuff. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the video. Before wrap it up, you know, definitely like, comment, subscribe, check us out on Twitter. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next one. So peace out, guys. And thanks for coming on, Zach. It was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Kris. Talk to you later.